everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Rebecca and this is my review of Ghostbusters Afterlife. So this movie is fantastic. It is almost a direct sequel to the original Ghostbusters. This is a huge tribute movie to Harold Ramis, who played Egon Spengler. This was written by Ivan Reitman for Harold Ramis, his dad. He would not do this movie unless he had the approval from his family, from the rest of the main actors, and it shows. This is very well written, and it's a good movie for everyone. The old fans from the original to the kids of the old fans who are into it now. So the film is not much of a comedy until toward the end, but there are a few legit jump scares that got me. So if you take little kids, just prepared for some quick jump scares. Even though the movie deals with the supernatural, this movie is very pro-science. So here is the plot of the film. So kids find old Ghostbuster equipment and discover that a demon pit is underneath their town in an old mining shaft, and they use their equipment and their scientific knowledge to defeat the ghosts of the past, and literally the ghosts of the past. So for here on in, major spoilers for the movie. So if you haven't seen it yet, please go watch the movie and then come back to this video. Or if you don't mind spoilers, here we go in 3, 2, 1. Okay, spoiler time. So the movie evolves around this girl named Phoebe, and she is very pro-science. She's very awkward, nerdy girl that all she knows is science. So her and her brother Trevor and her mom end up in this small farm town, and they inherit their grandfather's old farmhouse. And throughout the movie, they discover that Phoebe and Trevor are the grandchildren of Egon Spengler. Trevor his character is mostly of the Venkman character. He's the Bill Murray of the movie. His character is just wanting to hook up with this girl he meets at the town. That's it. That's his character. Phoebe makes friends with another kid. His name is, well, he calls himself Podcast because he has a podcast. He's this weird supernatural conspiracy theory fan who has a small podcast that's his character. He is a podcaster. And the older audience would be like, what's a podcast? I was expecting that question. Didn't come up. So this is for the younger generation. What's a podcast? He is the Raymond Stantz type character. Very gung-ho on the ghosts and the supernatural and the sidekick. He's the sidekick. So Trevor, Phoebe's brother, and if you didn't know, Phoebe is the Spengler character, the pro-science, the no emotional. She tells awkward dad jokes. And they're funny. I laughed because of how awkward and weird they are, but that's my kind of humor, just awkward and weird. So anyway, Trevor falls in love with this girl named Lucky. And Lucky works at the local burger joint and is a town local, 4th generation town local. And she won't leave because her dad is the town sheriff. And she is just the love interest. She is the Ernie character. She just is rounding out the original cast. The 4 children I'm going to call them children because they're like 12 years old. They become the new quote unquote Ghostbusters for this fight. So they just put her in to round out the cast. And for the third act fight, she doesn't really do anything. She shows up at the end and gets possessed by a ghost. So it doesn't really help. It felt awkward to me. So Paul Rudd is in this film, and he has a lot of funny dialogue. He is the summer school teacher, and the trailer doesn't show it, but he is a scientist, a seismologist. He is trying to figure out why there are earthquakes happening in this Nowhereville, middle of nowhere town. And he's pretty adorable. There's this one scene in Walmart where he's doing some late night shopping, and he's in front of the ice cream freezer, and product placement, Baskin Robbins again. I don't know what is up with Paul Rudd and Baskin Robbins, but it happens again in this film. And as the plot goes along, you find out that he plays the part parallel to the role that Rick Moranis played in the original. But in this film, he is the love interest to Phoebe's mother. Once the children find out, they discover something weird in the house that they were inherited. For some reason that I won't explain fully, Egon Spangler left the Ghostbusters to go to this Nowhereville town and do more scientific research. And so he left the Ghostbusters, took all their equipment, all the stuff, even the Ecto-1, and set up shop in this house. So when he dies in the beginning of the film, they inherit everything that he left. So when the kids find all this equipment, it goes into the same basic plot structure as the original. If they test the equipment, they capture the equivalent of Slimer, which is Chomper. I guess that's the name of the ghost. This ghost eats metal. Slimer just eats everything. But this one eats specifically metal. So they go through that catching of the ghost. Then they discover that the place where Gozer comes from the first movie, is actually in this mine shaft mountain in this town. They explain it very nicely in a nice bridge to the first one, why she was in New York, how she ended up in New York, but the portal itself is here in this small town. So Spangler left the Ghostbusters to keep this portal to the underworld at bay. Forgot to mention that the movie felt like an old 80s kids movie, like Goonies or Stand By Me, a big kid adventure movie. I thought that all the kids in the town were gonna gang up together to defeat the monsters, because the kids that worked at the burger joint with Lucky, who were the background characters, they were hanging around the main kids a lot. Like they were listening on conversations with the map, like the guys in the jail were in the original. So I thought they were all gonna be in on it together. Didn't happen, but it felt a lot like one of those old 80s movies. Then they discover what ghost is coming through. It's Gozer, Zuul, the two demon dogs, and they have the same fight. The third act fight, the effects are much better. Obviously, it's not, the demon dogs are not stop motion. It is very, very good CGI. It's almost the same throne room steps that Gozer comes to is the same. So the third act fight, all the kids come and lure Gozer out into an open field where they're trying to trap her. And it looks like they might, but then things turn and it looks like they're going to lose. But then you realize, oh, guess who's coming to save the day? Yes, the All three original Ghostbusters, all three actors come to save the day. And it got a pretty nice applause from the medium-sized theater audience that I saw it with. But then, because they're old and didn't have all four proto packs, because there was only three of them, they're starting to lose. So what happens? I felt like it was very much like the fight scene in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire when the ghosts come out of the wand where the stream's coming from. It was very Harry Potter. That cameo, I don't know. I think they did it the same way they brought back Peter Cushing in Rogue One. But I was not expecting to cry when I saw him. Spoiler alert, the visual of Harold Ramis comes to fight with the rest of the Ghostbusters and defeat Gozer one last time. And I was not expecting to cry. He doesn't speak because they don't have any recording of his voice. So all he's doing is just looking around and nodding at the other characters. So he comes basically out of nowhere and helps Phoebe defeat Gozer. And so everyone who has a proto-pack is shooting it at Gozer. They trap her in this huge field. The dogs, freeze again, and Paul Rudd and Lucky were trapped in the dogs because they were the two love interests. It was a great movie. I did not expect to cry. Phoebe's mother, I didn't catch her name, meets because she was Egon's daughter, estranged, because he just left everyone. When they reconnect with Egon as a ghost, it felt more like the end of the old Jack Frost film, with the snowman. So yeah, it was very good. When you go see the movie in the theater, there are two post-credit scenes, one mid-credit and one way after credit. So the mid-credit scene is between Bill Murray and Sigourney Weaver. That scene is to correct the opening scene of the first film with the psychic cards to make it better or up to date for today's audience, to fix it. They put it in to fix it. But the after credit scene is with Ernie, and you find out that he's become a huge financial success, a huge businessman. He owns all this property, and so he buys the old firehouse and brings back the Ecto-1 back to New York City. So it kind of sets up for a sequel film to continue the franchise. Maybe. Who knows? But it's setting up for that. Because of the well-written continuation, much better than 2016 Ghostbusters movie. That one I didn't like at all. Because it was well-written. The special effects were fantastic. The acting was pretty good. The girl they got for Phoebe looks almost exactly like Harold Ramis. Like, you could tell they could be related. Like, she could be his granddaughter. So that was great casting there. The kid who played Podcast, he was cute. Paul Rudd was funny, but didn't do much other than react to the tiny Stay Puft Marshmallow people who got the first major laughs from my audience. I giggled at the dad jokes, but they laughed at the antics of the marshmallow monsters. Huge nostalgia. Very much nostalgia. You get that, you felt it when they uncovered the Ecto-1, and when you hear that siren. You see all of the equipment, including the wired helmet that Rick Moranis wore. That's still there. Protopacks. Huge nostalgia. So there's a win there, and it made me cry. So I give this movie an A+. If you're a fan of Ghostbusters and you want to take your kids to see it, go see it. Perfect movie, A+. Go see this film. All right. Thank you for watching, and And if you want to see more reviews, please like and subscribe. And I'll see you at the theater.